Lumberjack Logic live from the road, from the truck here, driving down the highway. Well, I'm not driving. I couldn't be driving and streaming. You don't stream and drive. You don't drink and drive. You don't stream and drive. But folks, I am reading something about absolutely this is fraud on an industrial scale, and I'm not even talking about election factors in. I mean, do me a favor, please smash that like and chat in with where you're from. But conservatives are now pointing to inconsistencies in New Jersey gubernatorial race after nearly 500,000 new voters appeared from 2021 to 2025, more than doubling the state's population growth over 4 years, with almost all of them going to Democrats. How many of you guys think does that seem fishy? And I'm just, what do they say? Correlation doesn't always equal causation. Listen to this one. For the last 50 years, New Jersey had about 2 million voters. And the winner of the election in New Jersey would get roughly 1 to 1.4 million votes. Now, somehow, in 2025, New Jersey ends up with 3,171,000 voters. So we're talking plus a lot. And the Democrat has 1.792 million votes, almost 1.8 million votes. When this is odd, folks. Very odd. Matt Cassoni, good to see you on. Katarina, thanks for modding for me. This is like Joe Biden kind of numbers, like 2020 Joe Biden. I just wanted to throw that out there, but here's what I actually want to get to. This from Data Republican on X. Okay, so we've discussed this ad nauseum, right? How you had to have voters on the voter roll to be able to manipulate the data. Because then, especially with mail-in ballots, the ballot is not attached to the envelope, and the ballot is secret, and we want secret ballots, right? We all want secret ballots. Nobody wants. That's why we need same-day paper ballots, voting in person. That's how we've done it before in the past. And then you had to do old-fashioned stuffing like John F. Kennedy with ballots in the river in Chicago and stuff. It's harder to do, folks. It's harder to do when you can manipulate it through the computer and then produce the ballots ex post facto. This all goes back to Georgia and the perfectly filled in ovals and all of the sworn affidavits, and the fact that we still haven't seen the ballots from Georgia, even after it's been court ordered. The whole thing's ridiculous. But anyways, I want to get to the State Republican bit. Listen to this. This is from a website put together by Democracy Funders Network, which is run by the Pritzker family. According to the website, the total democracy NGO ecosystem revenue is $33 billion annually, with more than 200,000 staff. 22% of that funding comes from government grants. That means your tax dollars being used against you. So these numbers are just staggering. Okay, so I'm gonna skip down here to this. The subcategories and subcategories. Okay, listen to these categories. Voter mobilization efforts, $942.6 million. Folks, I'm guaranteeing you that this democracy effort is all from one party. Okay, Just Society, they got $9.1 billion. Informed Public, $5.88 billion. I could go on. Empowered Electric, $1.6 billion. Counter-authoritarianism sounds kind of anti-Trump, not because he is authoritarian, but because they tell us he is, okay? $3.8 billion. Democratic imagination. You got to have an imagination to make Zoran Mandani democratic in any way, folks. A socialist. Communist, $3.4 billion, and so on. Redistricting reform, $248.8 million. Okay? But get this. There is a whole separate category for training faith leaders. So out of this $33 billion, You wonder why churches have gone woke? You wonder why the leadership at your church has been infected? Listen to this. Curated ecosystems, okay? Well, faith leadership, $3.6 million for faith leadership. Youth leadership, $64.8 million. BIPOC leadership. What is BIPOC again, anyways? What is that? What's BIPOC? Do you know what BIPOC is? BIPOC. Is that? Come on, folks. You guys, somebody out there knows. I gotta know. BIPOC. What does that stand for? Is that like it's some sort of BIPOC? Help me out. Come on. I know somebody in my audience knows it. I know it, but I can't remember it right now. Okay. What we got here? BIPOC. Mixed people of color. Okay, so people of color, that makes sense. So biracial and people of color. Biracial and people of color, BIPOC, they got 257.7. Folks, this is coming right out of your tax dollars. It's all working against you. See, do you know what else I read today? I was reading Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen said that the greatest time of approval for the Trump administration was during the Doge activity. Do you guys remember all the excitement over Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, right? Well, what we want is radical change, and not like we need a new house, a new Senate. Like, we like our Constitution. We're talking about radical change in the sense that we are sick of seeing numbers like this. $33 billion, okay? Now listen to this. Pay no attention to the media getting $3 billion annually and another $3 billion for creative media. So this is going to the media from these democracy advocacy things that they're gaining. What percentage was that? Was that 22%? 22% of the funding from government grants, meaning your tax dollars. The rest are from like Soros, Open Society kind of money, that stuff, okay? But $3 billion annually, another $3 billion for creative media. For reference, folks, MSNBC's advertising revenue is a mere $250 million annually. Okay, so we now have $3 billion and another $3 billion for creative media. But get this, they also have down here, if you go to health equality, disability rights, $409.3 million. But listen to this, LGBTQ plus rights, $459.6 million. In other words, the LGBTQ plus X to the Y to the Z to the fourth power is more valuable than the disabled people. I don't know. Probably vote more. I don't know. Indigenous sovereignty, $429.9 million. Building indigenous power. Civil rights, $1.3 billion. Gender justice, $2 billion. Promoting equality on the basis of gender. I didn't think genders existed anymore. What is this? Now we've got gender justice. So are you telling us that women need justice more than men? And that's gender justice? Because I'm sure it's not men that need gender justice. Just saying. Advocacy and litigation, they're spending $6.4 billion, it looks like, on attorney's fees. Oh my gosh. But as sad as that is, and it's kind of funny, here's the thing. Again, I want to repeat this. If this is $33 billion, and if you don't think $33 billion is enough to get people interested in kiping elections, and this isn't all the money. I mean, there's a lot bigger money behind this. I find it interesting how people think that people wouldn't want to steal elections, or that that's like the bridge too far. Give me a break. So there's a big debate right now in the Senate about the filibuster. I am very mixed on this because I have long appreciated the filibuster. And it's almost like the be careful what you wish for, because when the filibuster is eliminated, right? That's how they jammed what's her name through the Supreme Court. Was that Ketanji Brown Jackson that they jammed through on the by ending the filibuster? She's a terrible, terrible Supreme Court justice. The flip side to this whole thing is, if the Democrats had the chance, they would do it. But Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema stood the line. That's the only reason why we didn't get H.R. 1, federalized voting. So I'm kind of torn on it. I understand what Trump is saying, because I believe now if the Democrats had it. But I think Joe Manchin might have said something the other day about how he made people promise in the Senate not to end the filibuster if he would vote not to end the filibuster when he was there. Well, now you got to go to promises made, promises kept. So if you're going to promise that to Joe Manchin, you're going to have to honor that. But I get where Trump's at. And I think John Thune's kind of weak and feckless. I'm actually in South Dakota right now. John Thune, if you're out there, you're a weak and feckless leader of the U.S. Senate. Anyways, folks, I had to share these numbers with you because that's absolutely alarming to me. When you look at this NGO ecosystem, $33 billion, and 22% of that coming from your tax dollars. This is why Doge was so popular. We are tired of seeing our money go to this kind of crap. Anyways, keep fighting a good fight. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.